Hey guys, Mike from Wrestling Then and Now. Thanks so much for checking out the YouTube channel and for all your support. If you haven't already, please click subscribe. I have so much content coming up. You don't want to miss anything. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like. It really does help my channel grow. Thanks again.
Kind of like the Don Corleone of the locker room, I think. Just such a highly respected, like there's nobody more respected in the locker room than him. But you know, he's got his people that'll do his bidding and try and teach people lessons, and he'll keep his hands clean. And I mean, personally, I always got along really, really good with him because I think we're both Texas guys, and he saw how hard I worked, and I always respected the hell out of him, even though I wasn't going to go up and like kiss his ass. I would certainly take his advice, but I wasn't going to latch on and kind of be one of those guys who would like hang on to his trench coat in hopes that he'd throw me some crumbs. But yeah, I mean, I remember flying back from somewhere, and we both would fly into Austin because that's where we lived. And he met my folks who had come to pick me up. I can't remember if we were coming back from a tour or something, but just sat there, and he stood there for a few minutes and had a really good conversation with my folks and put me over. And I thought, that this is surreal. But I'd also seen, people cross him unintentionally, and next thing you know, their clothes would be thrown in the shower, and there's all this kind of crap. And I don't know. A lot of people look at him as like he was like the locker room leader, but I looked at more so like Eddie Guerrero was like the locker room leader in my estimation. Taker was just kind of like, I guess everyone just kind of feared him, and with good reason. I mean, he had been there the longest, and he's the ultimate legend, and whatnot. It was unfortunate I never got to work with him, but definitely respect him. But yeah, you don't want to cross the Don.
Undertaker.
One of the coolest dudes you'll ever meet. Literally, and I say this, no disrespect to Papa, but he's the true godfather of the locker room. And one of the coolest things I ever remember about him is you expect, because I came from a time when I was doing enhancement work for WWE, that all the stars had all their own locker rooms. You remember this, right? Like there was a general locker room, and then Shawn would be over there and Macho would be over there. You know where Undertaker's locker room was? Right in the center of the regular locker room. Yep. He set his chair in the middle of the room. So if you need to ask him something, he was right there for everybody to talk to. One of the coolest some guns on this damn planet, and that's it.
Undertaker.
I was afraid of the Undertaker. I was afraid of Vince and the Undertaker, and he was on SmackDown, so I wasn't around him a whole bunch. But the times that I was, he was super nice. But I didn't really get a chance to have a relationship or connect with him. But he was always just kind of one of those guys that I was intimidated with.
Undertaker.
Good. I call him a friend. Good friend. Yeah, locker room leader. I think the last locker room leader. I don't think that there's been a locker room leader since him. I haven't been in the locker room, so I can't tell you like if these other guys that call themselves locker room leaders can hold a candle to the way he ran the locker room. But to me, that's Taker was the locker room leader and will always be the locker room leader.
How'd you get along with the Undertaker?
Oh, Undertaker was cool, man. Undertaker was good people, man. And I mean, when I had to give him the purple plunge, he went up so easy, man. And Undertaker's a good guy.
What's he like in the ring?
He was like too. I mean, to a point, he was a little stiff, probably because it was me. But he was a little stiff, and outside of that, it was cool.
To this day, Undertaker, who's going to say how many guys like on your daily routine, and all the wrestlers that you've met can say they wrestled the Undertaker live 15 minutes on Raw when Raw meant something, when it was like the Monday Night Wars. So I get to the building and Kevin, um, Ke-
Kevin Dunn?
Kevin Kelly
Kevin Kelly.
comes up to me. He goes, dude, he goes, it's your night. He goes, I can't believe it. You ready? What? I didn't hear you. What? I'm walking in. What? He goes, you got Taker. Now, the way they termed it was over 2 commercial breaks, which is an eternity.
Yeah.
Live.
Wow.
Like, holy shit. But you know what, Mike? I felt like I said, I don't give a shit because you know damn well, like, I never wanted to say I'm nervous because you know, as soon as you go through the curtain, your persona kicks in. Whatever you do, you kicks in. So I'm like, all right, I belong, and I'm going to show I belong. All right. He couldn't have been any better. Like, he was calling all this shit he called to get me over, like all this shit, freaking Russian leg sweeps. Or he called it arm drag for himself, like me giving him an arm drag. Like all these spots, besides going into his finish, like his
Sequence.
move,
Yeah.
going into his finish, everything. And I look back, I probably watched the match 100 times.
Talk to me about the Undertaker.
You get to a point where you believe all of the stuff. You believe that he's dead. You believe that the room is a little colder when he walks in. You do. And again, you don't know what people are going through. So during my time when it coincided with my heat and nobody liked me, and he's the Godfather. He's the guy. And every time I wanted to go talk to him, he just looked like he just couldn't be bothered. He just looked so tired and annoyed. And I always thought it was because of me. Turns out he was going through a divorce. And I had no idea. But again, you internalize and you're paranoid. And so finally I go to him and I talk to him. Hey, listen, man, I have a lot of heat. And he's like, yeah, you know, I got the bottle you sent to my room. You didn't need to do that, but thank you. That's the right thing to do. And the fact that you come in to talk to me says something. You've been having good matches with Rob and whatever and da-da-da. And then after WrestleMania, I said, can I please come back in the locker room? He said, yeah, man, of course you can. And I have to credit Tommy Dreamer and Edge for smoothing over my relationship because Undertaker didn't know me. Who am I to him? He's got plenty of stuff to worry about. But they would tell him stories of some of my antics on the road, or he would watch some of my matches and he'd see I wasn't the bad guy that everyone was portraying me to be. And at the end of the day, he's a dad. He was going through a divorce. He was getting remarried. He missed his kids just as much as anyone else did. And a real nice guy. And I got to wrestle him. You know, Big Daddy V, we were on a tour of South America and Big Daddy V unfortunately fell ill and went home. And there were still 8 nights left. And Dean Malenko was the agent. He's like, I'm not switching the card. You wrestle Taker. Gladly. Gladly.
What was that like?
It's almost as if, and you can appreciate this because you always had a reputation amongst your peers as a good worker. And that's the best reputation that you can have. Not that he's stiff, not that he sells a lot of merch. He's a good brother. No, he can go. And you don't hear that anymore. He can work. He's light as a feather. Boy, oh boy. With Undertaker, I didn't have to say a word because anything I call, he's going to call over. I could hear him in my head, Mike, I swear to you. He would look down at his knee and I heard him say, go for the leg. And even if he didn't, it was the right thing to do. It only confirmed for me, A, that my instincts and training were correct. And B, there's a little bit of puffy chestedness when you can walk through the curtain the 4th or 5th night with Undertaker and he's giving you the little double squeeze. You can kind of walk up a little higher past your peers. Not like you're a swinging dick or nothing, but hey, I can go. I'm pretty good. If this was a sport that was based truly on merit, which it isn't, I'd be accepted. And that's all I ever wanted.
Undertaker?
Not, I mean, just role model. I mean, I again, little interaction, some interaction with him. Always shook his hand, and he did give me feedback on matches every now and again. But funny story was we were right after the squad ended, I was on the SmackDown brand, and we did a tour of Europe somewhere. And then afterwards, we were celebrating on the tour bus, right? And Taker's in the back, you know, and we're all having beers, but I kind of like, I was like maybe like a third of the way up the bus, I look back at Taker and I see Matt Hardy and him looking at me, kind of going like this, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And I just sat down and just kind of like sunk in my chair, like, like I don't want to drop that joke. And then Matt Hardy comes up to me and goes, "Hey Jeter, Taker wants you to give a speech." I was like, "Give a speech?" Like, and some of the guys were giving speech. I don't remember if I kicked it off or if I was somewhere in between. But so I got up and I was just like, "Hey everybody, thank you guys for allowing me." And because this was SmackDown, I was originally on Raw. I was like, "Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to work with all you guys, and thanks for welcoming me into the locker room. I'm just grateful for the opportunity to even be here. I had a great time." I said something like, I don't know how long this ride will last, but I'm grateful to be here. Whether it's, as soon as I said this line, I was like, whether it's Raw or SmackDown, as soon as I said Raw, they were like, "Boo, sit the fuck down, like you failed. You were doing good and then you fucked up. Sit the fuck down." And he laughed. But no, Taker was always cool, man. I never got any like ego or anything like that, but I was always just kind of nervous being around him because he's fucking Undertaker. I never wanted to bother him or upset him or do anything. So
Did you like working with the Undertaker?
Oh yes, I worked with Taker 2 times. The first time that I did was as a Quan, in where I blow the green mess and he sent it back to me. He was coming back for, I don't know, something happened, maybe vacation, something injury. I don't know. I can't remember right now. Was the center in New York, Manhattan Center, I believe it.
Sure. Yep.
Right there. I hear about that place that they did TV before, big time, and looked good for television. Then they start moving to different places after that. So I got the chance to work there with Undertaker. Great match, easy match. Now I see the way to work with him. When I turn to Savio Vega and Nation of Domination, I have the time to wrestle him again. But this time it's a different point. Why? Because I know how to work with Undertaker, with him. The other one was okay, but it's like, okay, this one I fought with him. I was the heel with the Nation of Domination. I was, showing my face. So working with him, bang, that's my brother. That's my brother. So anything for him, and we did a great show, I believe so. And we are from almost the same school as a Stone Cold too.
Next, you're working with the Undertaker. I guarantee you the boys were not happy about that. That must have been, for you, a dream come true. What was it like working with the Undertaker?
Well, I wanted to give him a push. I knew he needed a little bit of a.
You gave him the rub?
Yeah, I wanted to do the job for him. Dude, it was another I couldn't believe, like, what the hell is happening here? And you know what? I believe if it would have been anybody but Taker, I would have gotten more heat. But Taker he's the kind of guy, I think he's so unapproachable to like you can't question his
untouchable.
He's untouchable, and he's unimpeachable. Like, who's going to go up to Taker and say, "You really want to put that kid over?" Nobody. And there's no way in hell that I'm kicking him out of the Rumble if he's not okay with it. So I think it was the fact that it was Taker. God bless America. I remember when poor Goldberg came in 2003-ish or whatever. I mean, guys hated him, because A, they knew how much money he was making. B, he was thrown directly to the main show. I mean, to main events. And C, he couldn't work. I mean, the shits. So yeah, but he had the name. He was Goldberg. I couldn't work. But I didn't come in making the money he was making, and they knew that if Taker's putting him over, maybe there's a reason behind it. So I think that's the only reason. The fact that it was him is the only reason it worked. If they would have came out and been like, "You're kicking Shawn Michaels out of the Rumble," Shawn probably would have been like, "The fuck he is."
What was the conversation like? Like, I want to hear who came up to you and said, "This is what you're doing tonight with The Undertaker."
So I was in like I got wind that I was going to be in the Rumble. Les told me. Les told me in Cincinnati during training one day, and he was like, "I think they might fly you down for the Rumble. Be ready." I was like, "Okay." And then like 2 days passed, and I didn't hear anything from it. So I was like, "Oh, maybe they just wasn't a good idea." I mean, keep in mind, my Rumble experience was, I want to say, my 5th time on television. I wrestled Tazma 3 times. I wrestled Booker in December, and then I was in HWA until the Rumble. And then that's so they called me the day before and was like, "Get on a plane." I had to leave HWA, I had to leave training. I had to go to the airport and fly to Atlanta, where the day of the Rumble. And I get there. So I get there to get to the building, and they're like, bypass catering. They're like, just everyone's at the ring already. Just because, on TV days, I don't know how it is now, but when I was there on TV days, you got there at 1:00, and you go catering, say your highs, then you go to the ring after catering, find out what you're doing for that night, and start putting matches together. Well, when I got there, it was already like 3:30. And so everybody's already at the ring, and I go down there, like, find Shane. And luckily Shane's with Taker at the ring. So I go down and I'm, "Hello guys, I was told to find you." And Shane's just as nonchalant as he could be. He's like, "Oh yeah, we got this spot where you're going to be kicking Taker out of the Rumble tonight." And Taker just, and I didn't know if he was ribbing me, but Taker looks down at me. He goes, "He's going to be what?" And I was like, "Oh, fuck." And then he looks down and he's like, "The fuck he is." And then 30 seconds passes and he winks at me. And then they tell me what the plan was. And yeah, another thing that I've never gotten color up until that point, but the match called for me to get color. And I didn't want to F it up. So Taker gigged me. And that's the biggest no-no. You don't let anybody blade you.
Right.
But not a lot of people are doing their 5th match ever on, the Royal Rumble, probably one of the biggest spots ever in the Royal Rumble. So I didn't want to fuck it up. But I also knew that he'd take care of me, and he did. I don't have a scar from where he bladed me, but the first time I had to do it myself, I still carry the scar right here because I went the wrong way. I went down instead of across.
After that, I mean, things definitely start changing for you. Then you worked you worked with The Undertaker and you beat him for the hardcore title.
Oh yeah, like things started changing and started changing quick. After the Rumble, I think it was a fuck up on I just don't think they realized that I never got thrown out over the top rope. I never got eliminated. So then that's how we go around full circle when I'm wrestling Jericho for the title. That's how I'm wrestling Jericho in Richmond Coliseum for the title. Because, everybody, just starts, Maven was never eliminated from the Rumble. I still get messages that you're still in the Rumble, to this day. And so I think to squash those and to shut everyone up, they gave me that match. But then Taker comes out, me and Taker have our spot, which was so cool. It was all so cool. Like, it was just, like, at this time, I don't think I'd fully transitioned from, fan to actual worker.
Undertaker,
I never really got to know the guy. Don't really have a read on him as a person or anything like that. I know he's enjoying post-retirement and now the mystique, and now he can kind of be Mark Calloway. I've seen a few things with that. He seems to have a renewed faith, which I can always appreciate, but don't really know the guy. Don't have any personal. We were in the ring together, that, but never anything outside of that.
Taker pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I saw what you did with Dave. He goes, I think we could make some money together. I want to work with you. I'm gonna go to Vince." So he went to the boss, and like a week or two later, Taker came out to me and said, "We're gonna go into a program. We're gonna have like 3 or 4 pay-per-views out of it." So And then I ended up being married to him for like the next year.
You mentioned earlier you learned to be professional, but inside you're screaming, oh my God, this is whoever. Forget being a professional. Ken Kennedy, Ken Anderson, the fan. What was that like getting a chance to have a program with The Undertaker?
Just to hear those words come out of his mouth was crazy. And then I remember standing in the ring. It was Oklahoma City. They put us together because he wanted to get a feel for me. He just wanted to do some house shows. And I walked up to him backstage, just like I did with Bob Holly. Hey, what would you like to do tonight? And he goes, let's just call it in the ring, honestly. He goes, just listen to me. He goes, I will tell you everything. Just do what I say, and, we'll see how it goes. And he literally would be like, punch me. I'd punch him. Kick me. Kick him. He walked and talked through that whole thing. But I'm standing in the ring. I do my intro, and the lights go out, and you hear that gong, and I got goosebumps. And I remember just sitting there going like, how the fuck did I get,
That's amazing. What's the number one thing you learned from working with The Undertaker?
Just listening to the crowd, just really listening. And he was so good at, we'd have like a couple things planned out, but we would see something else, or you get a reaction, you go this other way. There were times I was in the ring with him. We were in Portugal, and the crowd just, every time he'd grab my hand and back to the ropes, like he's going up for old school, they'd get it, and I would get a reaction, and it just wasn't getting any sort of reaction. And I remember him just like, it was very early in our match, and he was like, you win some, you lose some, let's take it home. And rather than just try to keep in a square peg into a round hole, we just went home. And that was but he was awesome to work with. I felt like he was like a big brother, father figure.
Undertaker?
We wasn't much there. It was kind of like, working with the Warrior, I'm in and out. That's it. A minute, 2 minutes is done. You never felt him. It wasn't gonna hurt you, which is always a bonus. They don't feel us, they just see us.
Undertaker.
Had a lot of respect, and rightfully so. He was just a really cool individual. I'm not gonna say he lived the gimmick. He was just a real quiet and cool dude, behind the scenes, and he was always fun to go out to the bar with and drink Jack Daniels. So, but he was at the top of the game, and he played the game perfectly. That's for sure. Anybody that gets 30 plus years at that company, I mean, you gotta respect that. So, yeah, that was Taker.
What was it like working with The Undertaker?
Oh, he's another great guy. Here's a little trivia fact. The last match he ever had before he left being Mean Mark or whatever was in Memphis. It was a one-night tournament for the championship, and I managed it that night. It's the only time I ever managed it. It's on YouTube now. He wrestled Bill Dundee in one match, and he wrestled Jerry the King Lawler in one match. I managed in both matches, and they're on YouTube now. And that was his last matches before he became Undertaker. So that's a little trivia, but I always got along great with him. And he is everything people say he is. The legend, the phenom, the Hall of Famer, every bit of it. He deserves it. I have absolutely nothing but full, unaltered respect, admiration, and anything else good you can say. Accolades for that man.
Undertaker?
Undertaker. He's a good guy. Like, he respects those who respect. Right? I have a funny Undertaker story. I did something I don't know what I did. Pissed someone off. who knows what you do, right? Because they don't tell you, they just punish you. And they kept sending Bob Holly into the ring to spank me. Like 3 days in a row, house shows. The last day, he smacked my ass so hard, it literally popped. The skin broke. Because, 3 days of it, right? So Taker, I'm coming through the curtain, and there's Taker leaning up against him. He's like, Dawn. I'm like, yeah. He goes, how was it? It was fine. It's great. He goes, you sure? I said, Taker, I don't know. I pissed someone off, but the match was great. I was like, I don't know what I did. I probably deserved it. I pissed someone off along the line, but I probably deserved it. And he started laughing. He's like, okay, that's enough. like that was like,
Right.
I don't think, all right. I didn't cry about it. I didn't,
Right.
And he's a good guy. Had many drinks with him. We used to go to the bar, all of us afterwards. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. Solid.
Nice.
He's solid.
How was the Undertaker in the back? How was he?
Man, I was intimidated. I was super intimidated. I know he was. I was a kid, early 20s, and like nobody fucked with that dude. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I've been sworn this whole time, and now here I go. But yeah, nobody nobody was messing with anybody. But I mean, like this guy was respected. You know what I mean? Where they might bust each other's chops. I don't know if they'd even play around with him as much, but I would see him still cut it up, drink beer with the guys, play their dominoes, all that stuff. With when I first got there, mind you, it was a huge, different generation. But yeah, I was always just scared. I was always just scared. I felt like he looked at me like I was a boy, and it's probably because I looked at him like I was a boy.